Hello everyone, welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to GG Press, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will skip a key post-war recovery conference in Poland this week due to a growing diplomatic dispute over World War II memory. The spat began last month when Zelensky named a military unit after the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, UPA, a nationalist group that carried out massacres against Polish civilians during World War II. In response, Poland's president stripped Zelensky of Poland's highest honor, prompting several Ukrainian officials to return their awards. The Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk, which aims to gather business leaders and officials to discuss Ukraine's reconstruction, will now be led by Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Svyrydenko to avoid further politicization. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has urged both sides to stand up to negative emotions, though he maintained that Kyiv is responsible for the crisis and urged Zelensky to reverse the unit's naming. Zelensky, however, defended the decision as a response to requests from soldiers, accusing Polish politicians of exploiting the historical dispute for domestic political gain ahead of next year's elections. According to Al Jazeera, Western Europe is bracing for another day of a sweltering heat wave that has smashed temperature records in several countries and left tens of thousands of people without power in France. Driven by atmospheric patterns and exacerbated by global warming, the extreme heat saw France's national temperature indicator reach 29.8 degrees Celsius, the highest since 1947. At its peak, the intense heat strained the power grid and left over 106,000 French households without electricity following a heat-related transformer malfunction. Meanwhile, train services have been reduced and hundreds of schools in the United Kingdom plan to close as temperatures are forecast to approach 39 degrees Celsius. In Italy, the Ministry of Health has declared red heat wave alerts in 16 major cities, including Rome and Milan. The heat wave is expected to spread into Eastern Europe in the coming days, with high-level alerts issued in Poland, Croatia, and Hungary. Experts warn that climate change has made such extreme weather events longer, more frequent, and more intense, prompting a surge in sales of fans and cooling systems across regions where infrastructure was not designed for such conditions. According to a report by Linhai Zaobao, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has strongly criticized a court's decision to impose a travel ban on his wife, Begona Gomez, calling the measure beyond all reasonable limits. Speaking in Parliament, Sanchez argued that the 2-year investigation into his wife has escalated into unreasonable preventative measures. Last week, a Spanish court ruled that Gomez must stand trial on corruption-related charges and banned her from leaving the country, ordering her to surrender her passport and report to court twice a month until the trial concludes. Gomez, 55, is accused of using her status as the Prime Minister's wife to secure contracts and business favors for specific companies involving influence peddling, corruption, and embezzlement. She has denied all allegations. Sanchez and the ruling Spanish Socialist Workers' Party maintain that the case is politically motivated, driven by right-wing opposition groups attempting to force him out of office. While several of Sanchez's close allies and relatives have faced corruption inquiries, the Prime Minister himself has not been named as a target in any investigation. According to a report by Linhai Zaobao, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, has announced the extension of its flight risk warning for the Middle East region until July Vixpori. Although the United States and Iran have reached a framework agreement and declared a ceasefire, EASA warned that the situation in the Middle East remains highly uncertain and volatile. EASA stated that the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran could be broken in the short term, particularly in the airspace around the Strait of Hormuz. Additionally, the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah remains fragile, with potential military actions still posing risks to Lebanese airspace. Consequently, EASA advises airlines to continue avoiding the airspace of Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. It also urged flight operators to exercise extreme caution when flying over other countries in the region, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Israel, Jordan, Qatar, Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. This advisory comes after several international airlines had already rerouted or suspended flights due to heightened security concerns in the region. According to a report by Liberty Times, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a direct military warning to Belarus. Zelensky declared that if Belarus continues to allow Russian forces to use its territory and facilities to support drone attacks against Ukraine, the Ukrainian military will directly strike targets inside Belarus. This warning comes amid reports that Russian forces have been utilizing drone ground control stations in Belarus to coordinate and launch attacks on western Ukraine. While Belarus has not officially entered the war, it has long permitted Russia to deploy troops, launch missiles, and operate drones from its territory. Meanwhile, Russia is reportedly intensifying pressure on Belarus to take a more active role in the conflict, while Western nations, including the United States and France, have attempted to engage with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko to decrease his dependence on Moscow. However, Belarus remains heavily reliant on Russia for economic and energy support, and recently participated in joint tactical nuclear drills with Russian forces. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.